I've been wanting to record this video for a while, and actually I tried twice to start it, but the approach I took failed, so I kind of decided to scrap those takes. But what I've been working on is taking the interpreter, and specifically the environment here, and turning it from an RcRefCell, which you may remember it was wrapped like this before, and turning it into just a pure environment. Now I don't actually know if it will make the code a lot cleaner. Kind of what I wanted was to get rid of these clones, but I don't really think that's possible anymore. But I want to turn it into an environment anyway. Just like a bare environment, not a wrapped environment. And then what I would further like to do in this video is to turn this specials into just a pure hash map. And the reason for that is that the specials, they are right now just used to store the return statement, or like to indicate that that a function has returned, and they really shouldn't be shared. Like there's no reason a return statement should be shared to another function, right? So what I want to do now is this, and later I also want to move the locals into the environment itself, just because it's never used in any other context than when we like try to get values out of the environment, so it makes sense it's in there, and it will also make this kind of code, if here expression.evaluate, a little bit cleaner. We'll only need to give one thing. But let's start with this, and we can now I've bound running cargo check to a special hotkey, so I can just press the hotkey and then it runs it. So that's why you will see it pop up every once in a while. Let me zoom out like that. And the reason I skipped talking about the environment in the video is because I did this that I just did for specials. I removed the RC and the RefCell. Then I went into the environment and I made all the references into just pure references, no mutable references, because now the values is an RcRefCell. So it's kind of like the RcRefCell have been moved in one level. We don't get rid of it. And then we just use this inner mutability pattern, like everything takes a reference, and then like inside the functions we like borrow mutably whenever we need to. It makes using it a little bit easier, but probably also more dangerous. Don't know if there's a better way to do it, so let me know if you have any ideas. Okay, but what we're gonna do now basically is go through these compiler errors one by one. For example, this one, and fix it up. And there's nothing special to this. Here's again another case where we see that this specials is something that belongs to the interpreter for this specific call of the anonymous function, which, I mean, it sounds a bit weird to do it that way, and honestly that might have to change, but for now that's how it is. And anyway, so this special belongs to the interpreter, special interpreter for the anonymous function. Obviously it shouldn't be used anywhere else. So anyways, I will see you once all of these compiler errors are gone. Alright, that was it. That was pretty easy. Only took a few seconds. Let's run the tests. And we didn't break anything, so that's great. Now for the big show. Or the big, I don't know what to call it. But anyway, we want to move the locals in here. and they probably shouldn't be public. And there is actually just a single locals that should be in existence, which is the one that's created during at resolve time. So I think it's okay to have the RcRefCell. We kind of imagine that that's a pointer, a smart pointer that points to the single hash map that is the locals. And basically, basically another thing, actually let's do that first. Because I think that will make this refactoring easier. I want to change the resolver so that, as you can see here, it like continuously changes the interpreter, but rather, so let me be a little more clear. So we make an interpreter when we want to run something, and we make a resolver that has a reference to the interpreter, and then when we do the resolution, the resolver continuously mutates the interpreter. I don't like that so much. I just wanted to produce like something like I want to produce the hash map that is the locals, and then just return that instead. So basically, let's do this. We want to make this hash map instead. Hash map new, and we don't want the interpreter. We can remove that here. And now in this one, we actually just do something to the locals, which is we call insert, and of course we have to call self.locals. Let's see if that worked. And now there's no reason to get the interpreter. Don't use that. And we can remove also this one and the RefCell, the RC most likely. And now we go into the main. We don't need to give the interpreter anymore. And now this function is not used, so we can remove that. And we are good to go. Let's check we didn't break anything. And we did break something. That's interesting. So now we should be able to say cargo run test cases resolve 3. Right, so I see the problem. Okay. I think I want to do something like this. Nah, I don't know. Maybe we do that. Maybe we rename this one to resolve internal. Okay. And it should not be public, obviously. We also don't do this one. It shouldn't be public. And then instead we have this one, which resolves some statements, and it returns a result that is either the hash map of the locals, or it's an error message. And let me do that. No, it didn't help. And then we will just call resolve many on the statements and unwrap that. And if that succeeds, we will return the locals. I wonder if we can do that, like move the locals out. We'll see if that works. And now here we just call resolve and we say let locals equal that. Okay, it is complaining in the second error about this. Which is a bit unfortunate. So maybe we do like this. Mutable self. Yeah, I mean, that kind of works. So we take ownership here of the resolver. And then when the resolver is done, it should be dropped, but we can return the locals. So that can survive. That is kind of cool. Now it's saying that this mutable is unused, which is kind of weird. And now what do we do now? Then we have the locals. We already have an interpreter that is kind of alive. So we need to set the locals on that. I think we just do this for now. And it wants an RC. Why does it want that? It wants it because of this. Yes, that's fair. So we wrap it. Now everything is hopefully working. And it is. Now we can go a little bit further. So the whole reason we had this RC, if I remember correctly, is because the resolver needed a reference because of the way it was structured. So perhaps we can get away from that now and we just say we have a mutable reference. Let's see if we can get the compiler to agree with that. So we have an interpreter here, it's mutable. We just gonna copy paste it for easy undo. We could also do something called commits, git commits, but don't worry about it. And here it should be mutable. Let's see if that compiles. It does compile. Let's run the tests. Great. So now I think we managed to simplify this a little bit. It looks a little bit better. The less RcRefCell we have, the better, I think. So far so good. Let's see if we can now move the locals into the environment. So what I want to do, what I think we need to do is take the locals as an argument and it could very well just be like this. The locals also go as an argument here. And in the environment, take the locals again, use size. Get rid of those locals. And now here I want to wrap it. Wait, that one was pretty good. That one I wanted. Okay. And then it should be removed from here. Let's see how much we can get the compiler to complain. So first we have to remove the locals from all these. Then yeah. I guess we don't really need this locals anymore here. We just want the parent environment. And then I actually want to say that the environment is not a new environment. It is something that encloses the old environment. Let's just try to implement that function now. It's pretty fittingly if it's up here. So enclose. And it just takes a reference to self and it returns a new environment. And that new environment should have, it's an environment. The values need to be the globals. Don't like that either, but that one. Don't like that either, that we're instead of making a new hash map all the time, it could just be like self dot. No, that doesn't work. I wonder if it, maybe we can just make it an empty one. Let's try that. And it's not how you do it. It's like this. And the locals is old locals cloned, and the enclosing is self-cloned. I think that should do it. That one we don't need. And let me see. Actually, the enclosing is a box, an option of a box. So we will say some box new like that. And we can already remove this one and that one, presumably. Maybe not RC, I think we use it for something. Anyway, so why is the right, so I don't need to do that. I should do here, I should do parent.enclose. I think. Let's see. And in the environment, now there's a bug. RcRefCell hash map new. And inside Expr. Right, we don't need to clone the locals anymore. So I think now the big change that will just release a lot of not so interesting compiler errors is that I remove this from the interface and then I just go about fixing all this stuff. So I will see you after I've done that. Okay, but the interesting thing is, of course, that before we had to look in the locals where the distance is, what the distance is for, ignore that, where the distance is for the current expression, and then use that to assign. But now we need to change the interface because the locals is not available here. And actually, we gotta do something like this. And even in principle, I think I want to keep it like this, but in principle we could just give the expression a reference to the expression as an argument to assign. But I think it's a little bit more clear. Maybe not, but that's just what I'm going to claim. So instead of this, we just want the expression ID, which is a U size, and then we have to calculate the distance. And that would be self locals get, actually we need to borrow it, and then we can get the ID. I think that's it. Then we can avoid that. And so get rid of that, I guess. And then actually let's add this comment here, because I just remember that it was something I really thought about. Important that this ID matches with the solver. Okay. And now we will continue solving these little compiler warnings. Okay, so when refactoring the get function, I'm actually gonna make a get internal that works the same way as the old one, which is like this. The reason for that is just to make the refactoring a little bit more safe. So I'm gonna call self.get internal with the name, with the distance that we just calculated, and then that's gonna be here. It's not gonna be public. And it's gonna get a distance, which is an option U size. So it's exactly the same interface as the old one. Let's see if we can get that to work. So it's not happy with that. Let's clone it. And here we need to call get internal as well. And I think that should be it for that. Actually, let's use the same pattern here. So actually we should probably refactor this later, so we don't have these internal implementations. I don't know, but they're probably not strictly necessary. It's just to make the refactoring a little bit easier for me right now. Yeah, it should return a Boolean. And I think that should be it. And it wants a reference. It shall have a reference. And here we should call assign internal. And the same down here we should call assign internal. Okay, I think that should do it. Now, I think I only need to remove these. Okay, so it's a little bit of a boring work again. Boring refactoring. So I will see you in a little bit. Okay, another thing here is that when we define a class, we use this trick that we assigned at a distance of none. Which we cannot do now, so I want to make an assign global. And it should take these arguments, return a Boolean, and it will just call the internal assign with none. And I think that should do it. And yeah, see you in a bit. All right, now we actually have an interesting thing, which is that the way it's structured, and also we need it to be structured like this, when we run in the REP, is that we make an interpreter which we then give to the run function. Because we need the interpreter to survive, of course, from REPL loop to REPL loop. But that means we cannot, if we go to the interpreter, we go to the new function, we actually cannot do it like this. It's a little bit funny. Okay, so just for that reason, what we're going to do is remove it from this interface. We're going to put it here, just say new. We're going to have a function that's called resolve. And of course, it takes a mutable reference to self, and it takes the locals, which is a hash map, usize, and then it calls on the environment. It calls a function that we just call it resolve. And then in here, instead of like assigning to that, we will call resolve. Now everything here should work. We just need to define this new function, which I will put at the top. So it's a little bit tricky because there's like this chain. It's actually even more tricky than, well, okay. So what we can do to make sure that it's updated for all possible environments is to not override the locals, but just to like insert all the key value pairs from the new locals into the old locals. So what I mean is that this is bad because it won't update in closing, and because we can have like an environment, top environment that has another environment, but that top environment can also point to another environment like this. So if we are here, well, I guess it's always the, but anyway, the point stands, we're always at the top environment when we call this resolve. So yeah, anyway, so like updating just the top environment is not good enough, and we don't actually have a reference to the lower environments, and adding that is like a lot of annoying stuff. So I don't want to do that. Instead, I want to say for key value in locals.iter, let's do self locals borrow mutably insert key value. Let's see if that runs. Now we don't need RefCell here, evidently. We don't need RC. Very nice. In the environment, there's now a problem here. Can we just do that? And that. And in the interpreter, 29. We don't need this to be immutable, which is fine. And down here, don't need it to be mutable. And this line didn't work. So the problem is, how do we, maybe I still do like old environment is clone and then just this. Okay. Everything is compiling now. Let's run the tests. The tests did not run because down here we need a hash map new. Okay, amazing. The tests actually ran with just one fix. So that's gonna do it for this video. It was a little bit scary, kind of a big refactor, but we got through it with the help of the compiler. So yeah, see you in the next one.